for being here today for our weekly FEBE morning group and on this blustery December morning. So want to announce that we're going to be having a holiday brunch here on December 14th from 10 to 11:30, and it's basically to thank you for coming every week and supporting our FEBE network. And we are also looking on that day, we'll be looking for some feedback from you as we go forward into 2017. So there is a form over there that you can register for, or you can also let Becky Hetrick know and she can get you all signed up for that. The reason why we're registering is because there's going to be food and we want to make sure there's enough food here for everybody. So that being said, I want to thank our sponsor, Dunkin' Donuts, that continues to support our FEBE networking group. And I'm actually going to turn things over to Chad Grude, and he can tell you a little bit about himself and talk about, I believe, communicating, right? Okay, thanks, Chad. Come on up.
Well, good morning, everybody. First of all, I'd like to thank you guys for giving me an opportunity to share a little bit about myself, a little bit about my journey into entrepreneurship, and I believe that's why most of us are here, is to learn a little bit more about entrepreneurship and what that means, and maybe some techniques to help us move in that direction and be successful. So, like Janice said, my name's Chad Grude. My vocation is owner of Express Employment Professionals here in Lorain County, and been married for 27 years, and born in Oberlin, worked in Lorain County all my life, except 1 year relocated to Madison, Wisconsin for a career opportunity, and after 17 years with the company, downsized and found my way back to Ohio. So just want to share a little bit why I believe that communicating and connecting is one of the most important things when it goes into entrepreneurship. I'm going to transfer the slide here a little bit. So I have 4 years of experience in grocery industry, 4 years in trash and recycling, 4 years in manufacturing, and 18 years in the building materials industry, all working for companies, corporations, and then leading up into end of 2014, going into 2015, decided that I need to reconnect with my passion of entrepreneurship. And I knew I had that passion when I was in 5th grade. I had my mom buy bulk candy and I sold it at school. And I made decent money. The school shut down my enterprise. Probably because I wasn't buying from them, so I bought school supplies from the school cart and then resold them back to the kids at a markup. So they shut that down as well. Got married at 19, went into the workforce as an employee, and until 2015 was an employee working for several different companies in leadership roles and sales roles, and decided that if at any point in my life at 45 years old, it was time to take that leap into entrepreneurship. And my wife and I left both our careers and bought a franchise and went into what we do today. And it really is a leap into the unknown. You know, you can take all your experience in corporate America, and when you own your own business, now you're responsible for every single part of the company. Things that you weren't aware of. Biggest challenge for me going into entrepreneurship was I had nobody to report to. Nobody to tell me if I was doing it well. Nobody telling me where I needed to improve. I was relying on my own ideas of what being a successful leader, successful business owner was. And my wife has corrected me several times. But so, you know, if I would speak to entrepreneurship, if you're thinking about going into business, you know, understand that you might want to seek out a leader, a mentor, a coach, to sort of bounce ideas off of and share what your decisions might be to see if you're on the right path. Because it's something I wasn't expecting as a business owner is that I had nobody to report to, I had nobody to be accountable to, other than my employees and my customers. So I didn't know if I was doing it well, and that was a learning experience. I'm going to flip through, pop some of these up here. So on this slide, I'm going to get into connecting, okay? Because there's a difference between communicating and connecting. And I found over all my years of marriage that there's a huge difference between communicating and connecting. And communicating is a skill set to connect, is the best way I can put it. And if we read through some of these slides up here, you can just take a moment to read through. This talks about being disconnected or being connected in a relationship. I'm sure all of us have gone to networking groups and we have a lot of surface conversation. We may get a name, but are we connecting with somebody at a deeper level to see where we can add value to that individual? And being an entrepreneur, I view it as how can I add value to my internal employees? How can I add value to my customers? How can I add value to my community? It's really about what can I give back out of what I've learned over the last several years of my life. Vision, an entrepreneur has vision or has to have somebody that has vision, because that's what's designing the future of the company, the future of the business. And then there's knowledge and understanding and experience. And then the hardest part is the execution in the doing. And I believe in my experience through my journey that it's in the doing things that I really have found out who I am, what I know, and where I need to grow and where I need to learn to be successful in my business. So doing is the major part in entrepreneurship. You can have the vision, you can know what to do, but unless you step out there and just do it. And to me, success is doing. Success doesn't mean that there's a favorable outcome. As long as we learn from an experience as an entrepreneur and we take away and we do something better in a different direction, that was a success. To me, a failure is if we don't learn anything. Being practical and win-win, and to me in entrepreneurship is coming up with win-win solutions with everybody. Talk a little bit about isolation, and this will come into discussion here. Again, direct correlation between relationship achievement and the ability to care for and connect with each other. To me, that's a powerful statement. Being able to care for and connect with each other. As an entrepreneur, I mean, if you're in business, that looking at something of what is it that I can give to the other individual is what's going to move us forward in the right direction. So this is a pretty powerful reflection chart here. High achievers, average achievers, low achievers. And I'll share a story back in 2004 when I was working for a company and I became district manager running 4 locations. In my mind, I was successful. In my mind, I was a high achiever. And it was October of 2005 that I personally crashed. Okay? So as I look back at this, I was really a low achiever back then. Even by standards of success, position, and everything, I was preoccupied with my own security in my job. I had distrust of my subordinates that they weren't doing what they were supposed to do. I wasn't seeking advice, and I avoided communication, and I relied on policy and procedures. And so as I reflected back, it's just amazing how our mind can build ourselves up in our own little world and isolate us. And then one day we have that epiphany that it's not all about me. And that happened for me back in 2005. And so I just want to share that with everybody as you're deciding to go into entrepreneurship or in entrepreneurship or you know, in your own position, your own business. This is just a slide. You can read through that. Connecting is action. It's an outward effort. To me, everything lies on communication. I can look back at every failure, every tough situation in my life, and it was poor communication. Not understanding the other individual, not listening to the other individual, and being good at communicating and asking good questions, not assuming what somebody else wants, actually asking them what they want, allows us to relate and allows us to make decisions more accurately. So communicating and connecting, if you look at the graphics here, what other people see is 55% of the communication, 7% what was said, and the other 38% in how we say it. Our words, how we say things, and my wife reminds me of this all the time, it's not what you said, it's how you said it. And that's just something that, you know, if we really want to connect and we want to get better, we have to, you know, make a decision to become better at how we say things. And then we have to follow through on what we say we're going to do. I don't know if anybody of you knows Cedric Brown. He's a motivational speaker. He's written a few books. He works over at the Urban League, has a little office over there. And he said to me one day, he said, if everybody's tongue in their shoe matched the tongue in their mouth, it'd be a great place. So I'd have to agree with him on that. This is just a little bit more about action, thought, and emotion. In entrepreneurship, understanding and controlling our emotion is huge. And that's hard to do. It's a skill to not react on emotion, because that's usually when we regret what we did and then we're doing some damage control. So this is a little bit about connecting, you know, clarity, initiative, patience, selflessness, stamina. Connecting is about being outside of ourselves and interacting with other people at a deeper level. You know, some of the sins of communication, you know, being unprepared, uncommitted to the other person, uninteresting, uncomfortable, you know, getting into an environment. I'm a big believer in pushing ourselves into uncomfortable areas, because if we can become comfortable being uncomfortable, we can accomplish a lot of things. We can overcome fears and probably reach levels that we never thought we could reach. All right. So connecting is more skill than natural talent. Relationships, you know, sacrifices, how you live, insight to what you know. Success is what you've done, ability, what you can do, and understanding how to bring all that together in order to relate with another individual. You know, our society is really making it tough to relate with people, you know, with the technology and the texting and everything's done behind computers. Our generations and even many adults are slowly not talking to people. They're not sitting down and understanding, you know, where this individual is at this point in time. You know, what struggles are they carrying? How can I help them, you know, overcome? And it's that connection part that allows people to move forward in a better direction. Finding common ground. Here's some barriers. We make assumption. We're assuming based on somebody's status, somebody's position, somebody's race, somebody's color, whatever it may be, we're making assumptions that we know what that individual is thinking or what that individual wants. Arrogance, wanting control, position, power in the relationship, or indifference. So choosing to find find common ground, availability, listening, questions, thoughtfulness, openness, likability, humility, adaptability. Those are all keys to connecting with other individuals. And it's critical, being a business owner, being an entrepreneur, that you can connect and relate. And if you decide to go into a business and you can't or do that, you need to have somebody in your business that can. You need to have somebody that can take that role for you. Humor, heart, hope, help. I mean, those are all keys to connecting. Talk to people, not above them. Get down at their level. Understand where they're at. I mean, if we're going into entrepreneurship, we have a business and we're trying to present our services or our products to another individual, we have to know where they're at. We have to understand if they even need what we have to offer. Get to the point, communicate it over and over again, get clarification. Inspire people. I think everybody, I like to be around inspiring people that get me worked up, get me going, and there's something greater out there. What people know, what people see, and what people feel equal inspiration. Credibility. How hard is it to build credibility? Do we just, one day we're credible? But we can lose it in a heartbeat. One decision against our integrity, we can lose our credibility. Credibility checklist. Have I connected with myself? In our business, one of the things that we do for individuals is help them connect with themselves, to understand what are the barriers that's holding them back from employment opportunities, and have them try to reflect in a mirror to see where they really are on the career path or the job front. Have I made right my wrongs? Have I reflected back and said, okay, I see where I fell short. Now I need to patch up those, and we talk to our employees about building files. Am I building a positive employment file, or am I building a negative employment file? What's my attendance like? What am I meeting or am I exceeding expectations? And trying to help them get to a better place. Accountability. Trying to take ownership of each of us. We each take ownership of where we're at. Do I lead like I live? Do I lead like I live? I think that comes down to integrity. Are my thoughts, words, and actions in line with each other? Do I tell the truth? Am I vulnerable? Am I following the golden rule? Do I treat others like I'd like to be treated? And I think in entrepreneurship, or building our brand as a individual, whether it be in our business, in the community, putting ourselves in the other person's shoes. How can we go wrong if we make a decision based on if I'm on the other side of the table? How would I want this company to treat me in this situation? And do I deliver results? Everything comes down to, are we seeing measurable results out of what we're trying to accomplish? So, that was fast. I guess in closing, I never thought how difficult owning my own business would be. I ran a $120 million business for companies, sales, but to where everything lies on my shoulders, it's a whole different world. Really is a whole different world. And, you know, I look at it as you know, carrying a burden. You know, I've got several hundred employees that are responsible for me. I've got thousands of job seekers that are relying on me as a business owner to be financially responsible, to stay in business, to deliver on what we say we're going to deliver. And building a brand and maintaining that through continual learning, because we can never stop learning, is critical to entrepreneurship. You know, I would ask anybody that is going into entrepreneurship, are you buying, if you're buying a franchise, if you're starting a company, are you buying a job, or are you wanting to be a business owner? They're two different things. So I see a great quote out there that an entrepreneur is somebody that'll work 90 hours a week for themselves, but they won't work 40 for somebody else. You know, I think that's the truth. You know, it's when you putting food on the table, and there's nobody else, you're not collecting a paycheck unless you're running your business wisely and everything. It's a big difference, and there's a mind battle that goes from leaving corporate America to being an entrepreneur. And I would advise anybody that is deciding to do that, you know, you talk to somebody that's made that journey, or, you know, because it's tough. And don't go into business with your wife unless your marriage is solid. Unless your marriage is solid. That's my word of wisdom for business owners. That is tough.
Maybe your wife will say, don't go in business with your husband.
She would say that too. She would say that as well.
Chad, I'll vouch for that, being in the business I'm in franchise. I turned into Dr. Phil at that point. So
Sure.
It's a true quote.
It is true. You know, I was fortunate to go through training with several individuals back in 2015 that bought express offices throughout the country, and a good friend of mine in San Francisco, he and his wife just divorced. And I mean, it was a little rocky even at training when they were there, but the business tore them apart, you know, and it's not easy. It really is not easy. So, you know, if you value your marriage, you know, you might want to, you know, make sure you really focus on that before going into business together.
I too franchise, right? I too. That's great. That's a great idea.
Have a solid buy-sell agreement.
There you go.
Sure.
Totally good.
So again, I hope I shared some insight, some value to entrepreneurship, some value to connecting and communicating, and I appreciate the opportunity.
John, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Everybody in here, and this is a little hiring and
Yes.
trends and costs,
So the-
areas struggling.
Mhm. The trend is that every company is hiring. Every company is looking for good people to show up to work every day, to put forth effort. We face a lot of challenges in Lorain County, probably many areas across the country with social resources to help people get to work. Some of them, you know, you have to put back ownership on the job seekers, and but many people that really want to go to work and maintain jobs and provide for their families just don't have the resources to make that transition from where they're at to where they could be. You know, there's a lot of skill sets that should be taught, you know, coming up through with you know, preparing and planning and having backup plans, and you know, everybody's living minute for minute today and not looking, you know, for next week, next month, next year. You know, we've tried to fill the gap in with like Uber rides to help people get to work when their car breaks down, and it does. You know, I'd say 9 times out of 10, it's truly a transportation issue, not just an excuse. You know, there are those that use as an excuse, and we say we got an Uber ride. Oh, well, that really wasn't why I was calling off work. But for the most part, it is unreliable transportation. And we don't have a good network here in Lorain County to help that. So we use Uber rides. They work well on first shift, part of second, but we're continually challenging with that. Skill sets, really every company is willing to teach the trade, teach them how to run machines, teach them how to, it's the soft skills, it's the problem solving, it's the conflict resolution, people to people, that's preventing people from holding jobs. The sensitivity. I had bosses yell at me ever since I started working. It just did my job, and as long as I got paid at the end of the week, I was happy. I didn't go to work to get patted on the back every day and feel good. And we have people that just don't know how to have difficult conversations and work through them in a healthy way. And we try to, as much as we try to give our phone number and we get people engaged in good job opportunities, call us. If there's a negative situation at work, call us and we'll help you navigate through that in a healthy way, without leaving at lunch and not coming back, or not going to work because you don't know how to deal with a coworker that, we do our best. But it really comes down to the soft skills and prioritization of priorities in life. We have a Pathways to Success boot camp that we started a couple weeks back that helps people, go inside themselves and identify the behaviors that are holding them back. And, hopefully they're, it's the application that really matters. Like I said, the action. We've all probably been through seminars and learned something, but until we go out and apply it and work through that application and seeing where it works, where it doesn't work, and fine-tuning it, it was a waste of our time, to go to the training. There's just a huge disconnect between knowing and doing, and, a lot of jobs out there.
What type of jobs? Would you say entry level, like the majority? Entry level that you're seeing, or are you seeing?
I'd say it's a mix, really. There's a mix between entry level. We all see the advertisement minimum wage should be $15 an hour. I personally don't think that's going to solve any of the problems that we have. I don't think that a kid coming out of high school should be making $15 an hour. They don't have any experience under their belt. They need to prove themselves a little bit. I am a proponent of education and work experience, and I believe that unless you're a gifted student in high school and that, hey, you're gonna go to college, you're gonna excel in this. I'm a proponent of getting in the workforce and working for a year or two and then really deciding what educational path is meant for me. We just have a lot of kids and adults out there that have huge college debt, that are working food service or gas stations, or they're just trying to find that $75,000 a year job that they told they were going to get when they went to college. And you gotta have a balance between experience and education to help move you forward. We have individuals, we help them transition skill sets. So we had a gentleman that was in the banking industry for a long time, and we helped him transfer his skill set into a title company, and now he's a title individual within a title company, not making quite where he was in his banking days, but he's slowly getting back into a different direction. There's opportunities out there. People just have to be willing to get their foot in the door and stick it out and be a little patient with the opportunity. Any other questions?
I'm sure you deal with a fair amount of millennials.
Mm-hmm.
What you do to really be able to adapt to.
Sure. I was at a presentation here at the college last year. It was the Da Vinci Institute, And I think some people were probably here for that when he spoke. But to tell business owners that they need to accommodate a workforce to play on their cell phones and social media while they're working, to me was appalling. We're not here to play on our phones. We're not here to be on social media when we're working. We're here to work, you know. And so to me, there's a movement out there to try to force that to our kids' minds. And every company I go into, I'm a no cell phone policy person. Leave them in the car, and if you have an emergency, somebody will call the company and say you have an emergency. So, you know, it's a pushback to me at that movement. You know, most of these millennials don't understand what hard work is. You know, they're this technology and this, you know, making millions behind the scene on Facebook and, you know, all this kind of stuff. But to work on a machine or to get up and go to a location and punch a time clock, you know, it's changing a mindset. It's continual education. Yep.
Any other questions?
No? All right.